Who's your emergency contact? Who should be notified in the case of death? Welcome to the USP, where I spent the last 2+ decades of my life. I've pretty much taken you guys through the course of my bid, the last 20+ years. But there's still plenty of stories here and there that I have forgotten or slipped in my mind, and now that I'm remembering. And one of the stories over here that I'm about to share with you right now is during the time when I was in Victorville. As you know, when we were in Victorville, it opened up in 2004. So when it opened up in 2004, the administration in Victorville had banned tobacco. Now, they didn't ban tobacco throughout the whole penitentiary until about 2006, 2007. When we left Lompoc, they were still selling tobacco product in Lompoc. But in Victorville, as I mentioned in the previous video, they had a little white Christian warden that just wanted to implement all his Christian beliefs. And one of them was he didn't want to smoke tobacco. And he restricted our movements and all the rest. And I shared with you the other day, we laid it down in Buck. During the time that we bucked, we picked that time, planning it to coincide with the region. The region the region is the people that oversees all the penitentiary. They're the suits. They're the big honchos that comes down and examine and evaluate the penitentiary and see if everything was running the way it's supposed to be running, So when we decided to lay it down, we did it during the time that they were going to come and visit. So when they came and visit, we're all locked in our cell. Now they got to ask questions. Why are these inmates not programming? Why is there a lockdown? And before we locked down, we had somebody type up a memo of all of our requests. And none of the stuff that was on our request was anything that was outlandish or that we didn't have coming. This was just the things that we were already accustomed to. These were the things that were given to us and given to other inmates throughout all the other facilities except for Victorville. For some reason, they wanted to do something different. And the reason is, you get a new dude in a position of power. He has his own idea how to bring the prison population under his heel, how to control the prison population, or how to stop the violence. But over and over again, none of these new implications that they put in, none of these new policies, these new ideas ever work out. Because one, they're not understanding the caliber of individuals they have locked up. The people they have locked up aren't people that follow rules, aren't people that march to somebody's tomb. You got gang leaders, you got mafia members, you got cartel members, and you got a bunch of renegades that buck the system. That's why they're in the penitentiary. They couldn't comply with the rules and laws of society. So they deemed them a menace, and now they lock them in this box. But yet, the administration seemed to not understand that. And they always try to implement things that really forces people's hand, puts the inmate in a corner to the point where they have no choice but to buck, or they make the time harder than it has to be. When you got people doing decades and doing life sentences, they really don't give a shit, And that's the one thing I emphasize for people that's going to work in penitentiaries, to work in these jails. Just have a conscious awareness of the environment that you're living in. Because if you don't, it could be very hazardous to your health. But the story I want to touch on today was, it's related to tobacco and a CO. But how it went down, just let me get to it. I'm on the yard, right? And in Victorville, coming from Long Park, I function with a lot of Crip homies, blood homies, and all the rest. I got friends from every aspect of life, from every gang, from every race. You know, one of my best buddies over there was Chucky Brim from LA. He's a blood homie. Me and him were about the same age, and you know, we used to play ball one-on-one together. He always beat me because he can jump. I can't, right? I can do everything else but jump. Asian man can't jump. But we had this other homie, he was a Crip homie. I think they call him A1. He might have been out of Vegas. You know, big dude, yoked up, whatever. One day he comes up to the yard and he hands me a package, right? It's almost a size, you know, if anybody smokes cigarettes, you know them bugler packs. They're about maybe 3-inch wide and 6-inch across. Comes in a blue package. But then you get the bugler cans. You know, the bugler cans, there's probably about maybe 12 to 15 packs worth in the bugler can. But he has it packed up in like a little Ziploc bag, a little sandwich bag. He's got it packed up. It wasn't a whole pack like you would buy a bugler pack, but it was a good size, especially being in Victorville when there's no tobacco and it's hard to get tobacco. Anything you get is a blessing. So he comes up to me and when we're on the yard on a football field watching a football game, he comes over and he's like, "Hey man, you can do something with this?" You know, he passed me the bundle. I look at it and it's tobacco. It's a nice little chunk of tobacco. Now again, like I told you, when they stopped selling tobacco, you could take one cigarette. Think about this. You can take one cigarette, break it down to 6 to 8 pieces, and sell each one of those pieces for $5. Right? Talk about inflation, black market. So I'm looking at it, and in my head, you know, I smoke cigarettes then, I smoke weed, I smoke everything, whatever. But, you know, I eyeball it, and I can see, okay, how much I can make. Now I'm just waiting for him to say how much he want for it, right? So he tell me, "Hey, can you do something with this?" I'm like, "Yeah, anybody can do something with that. It's tobacco. You know that shit sells. Everybody gets that wants that stuff." Like, "Man, I got a bunch of it. Like, what you trying to do?" You know, my question first is like, well, what does it cost me? You know? He said, "No, I'm gonna look out for you, man. I'm gonna get you 40 books. 40 books, $200. Looking at the pack, I'm evaluating how far I can break it down, because I got to break it down to, you know, pieces and sell them for a book each. And if I can get 100 pieces out of it, then 40 books is worth my time. But if I'm just scraping, if I buy it for 40 books and only can make 60 at the max, then it's not going to be worth my time, because I'm probably going to consume half of it, you know. But at the end of the day, even that is still better than me just buying a book piece here and there, you know, to get my fix. So I'm like, all right, you know, the little package he gave me looked like it would, you know, benefit me and was worth my trouble. So I'm like, yeah, let me get it. So he gives it to me. On my word, like, all the business I've done, I've never, only on a few occasions, had to ever send the money first. I mean, there's people that do business that they're not going to give it to you unless the money's there, you know, because they don't trust you or they don't want anything to go bad. But I've already built a reputation that if I come to somebody and ask them for something and let them know, hey, exactly how I can pay for it, when I can pay for it, I built a reputation that my word's always been good. So every yard I've been, whether it's Long Park, Victorville, Beaumont, Atwater, Florence, every yard I've been able to get what I need with just a shake of a hand. And I've always come through with my responsibility at my end, you know. So he's like, yeah, go ahead, man. I got a bunch more. Just let me know what you want. So at that time, they don't sell tobacco anymore. So the only way you can get tobacco if a CO brings it, right? So obviously, some CO brought this to him. Now in Victorville, like I mentioned before, they had a bunch of COs that were green and a bunch of COs that were cool, you know. But just for the record, I've never had a CO bring anything to me. I just didn't know how to ever strike that conversation, you know. The closest time I ever had to doing some was we had this homie from the East Coast. He worked in the kitchen and he was real cool with the CO in the kitchen. And he was telling me, yeah, the CO, he's trying to get down. I said, oh yeah, what's he trying to do? He's like, man, he's trying to bring us in some tobacco. I said, shit, how do we get him the money? So back and forth in a couple of days, he says, man, just wire it to Western Union. They can pick up the Western Union money just using a code. There don't have to be no name or anything. So how about people shoot money to the Western Union out there in Victorville? But when the time came for the CO to pick it up, he got cold feet. And nothing ever happened. And I ended up going to the shoe, not for that, but for something else. So when I came out of the shoe, I just had somebody that lived in Victorville go pick up my money and do something else with it. But that's the closest I ever came to ever getting the CO to bring me anything. You know, I've never had a piece of gum. I never got any chew or any cigarettes or nothing. I don't know how to have that conversation, you know. But other people do, and other people get lucky, and some people got game that they're able to go wherever they go. They're able to pull a CO and have them work with them, you know. But this dude, the homie, A1, like, he just fell into it. He just, you know, something about him or whatever. He got lucky or whatever. Because the story goes, he was telling me, you know, what he relayed to me was they had a CO, a little white dude in his block, a little CO that was working in his block. And he was just, him and a couple of his homies was just kicking it in the cell one day. And the CO knocks on the door and then opens the door. And he's like, what's up, man? And the CO looks around a little bit to see if somebody's watching him. You know, this is what he's being relayed to me. And the CO comes into the cell. He comes into the cell and pulls out a bundle of tobacco, about a can's worth of tobacco, and throws it on his bed. So here, should you guys do something with this? And they all, you know, all the homies that was in the cell, they all just looked at each other like, what the fuck, right? They're thinking they're getting set up or something. But he's like, what? He's like, yeah, man, just send me this much. You know, I think he wanted like $500 for the can of tobacco. Back then, you could buy a can of tobacco for like, I want to say between $12 and $20, like when it was being sold out of the commissary. You know, because, you know, in a federal prison, there's no tax. So at that time, a pack of cigarettes, this is like 2004. So a pack of cigarettes was like $3, $4. So a can of Bugler was only like maybe $15, $20. Might not even be that much. But he's like, yeah, shoot me 500. That's what I want for the can. And they all like, you sure? Like, you know, they were just trying to make sure that this wasn't a setup. He's like, yeah. So like, yeah, bet. So they made the deal. They took care of him. They sent him the money or whatever. They got a can of tobacco. But the thing about the penitentiary, and the thing that I've never understood about the homies or dudes out in the street is that they always want to be known that they're doing something. You know, like, yeah, I have a hard time comprehending that mentality, because we're all in the penitentiary because somebody told on us, because somebody knew what we were doing and called the police. So you would think that you would learn from that lesson, right? But of course, everybody always wants to be the man. Everybody wants to shine, and everybody wants everybody to see them shining. You know, you see right here, I'm shaved up, right? Or whatever. But in the penitentiary, I never shaved. I never cut my hair. The only time I shave and cut my hair and get all, cleaned up was when I knew I was getting a visit from my wife. Other than that, I just go about my business, I have all the necessities and stuff that I need, but I was never into like buying watches or necklaces or shoes just to look like, I don't know, just to have it. I just never been one of those dudes. But also, that might be like, for me, it might be instilled in me because I didn't grow up with a lot of things. So I never had a need to want and ask for things because, I'm not going through the store when I'm young asking for something knowing that I'm not going to be able to get it because my parents can't afford it. So I've always just been like, yeah, whatever. My parents buy me something, they buy me something. If they don't, they don't. I just never been one of those dudes that wanted to keep up with the Jones. With the Jonases, well, I think that's the word. With the Joneses or something, right? Like, even right now, like the things that my wife buy me for Christmas or other times, I'm self-conscious of it, when she give it to me because I know what it costs. Me, outside of my own personal gear, BMA gear, I get all my stuff from Costco. I've never been, into all that stuff. There's nothing wrong with it. If you can afford it, like more power to you. Everybody's got their style, everybody's got their personality and all that. Just for me, it's just I've always been a little conservative when it comes to material things just because I didn't grow up having anything. And that's still with me today, not wanting to have things that are beyond my means. But going back to the story, they out there shining. I wasn't something special where he came and gave me a bundle. He did that to whoever he fucked with. He's passing out the bundle because he's got to move it, make his money back. But word got out that this white CO was hooking up these black dudes. So these NLR dudes, Nazi lowrider, I forget the dude's name, but he got he's got a crooked eye. Like, when he's talking to you, you don't know if he's looking at you or looking at somebody else. But he's one of them dudes that, because of his affiliation, like, I don't know nothing about the dude. He might go hard. He might be a cold-blooded killer, gangster, and all the rest. But from what I observed, him being on the yard with us was just that he was just a little too extra. And in my experience, when somebody's extra with the aggression, extra with the personality, extra with the mean mug and all that stuff, in my experience, all that is a facade, just an image. But he had the unit for that block. They only had, at the time, one brand on the compound, Old Man Ray. And I don't really know him. He lived in another unit. I met him, I had a conversation here and there with him, but we didn't have any type of rapport or anything like that. But at the time, the NLR were like the pool that the ABs were recruiting from, because there was a couple NLR, Nazi lowriders, that end up becoming a brand member. But that's a whole different story. The dudes they picked weren't up to par, and there's a whole other shit that's I've heard since then that's happened to them or whatever. But this dude, he's in a unit and he finds out that this white boy is hooking up with these black dudes with tobacco. So this stupid motherfucker, him and 3 of his homies, goes up into the office, the CO's office, and tells the CO, hey man, you white. You ain't supposed to be fucking with these, the N-word and so on and so forth. Like, if you're going to be bringing something, you're going to be bringing it to the white boys. And if you don't, he kind of threatened him, insinuated that he was threatening his life, But he was on that racist bullshit. So now, instead of the compound getting fed, even though it's coming through a black dude that the CO decided to fuck with, regardless who it come through, we got something on the compound. We got things to hustle, we got things to move, we got things to smoke. But because this NLR dude, him and his goons went over there into the office and tried to put their pressure on the CO got spooked. The CO ran out of the fucking his room, right out the front door, and straight down to the lieutenant's office and told on everybody. Yeah, then you probably, that fucking CO is a snitch or this and that. But think about that, man. This CO is green. He's just over there working, and he's trying to find a little way to accumulate some extra income for himself and his family. And he was observing the block, and he decided that he wanted to fuck with this black dude, A1, Crip homie. That's his prerogative, But the white boy, because they was on some racist shit, didn't like that this white CO was hooking up this black dude, went up in there and threatened him. And now the CO is over at the SIS office telling on everybody. So they come pick up the white boys that ran up in his office, and they came pick up all the blacks that he was giving tobacco to. And then for a period of time, that pipeline that they had access to for tobacco went dead. Fucked up the whole spot. I just tell this story because sometimes, I know we're all prejudiced and we're all biased, and even to a certain extent, we're all racist. But the story shows you that being racist and all the rest, having that hate in your heart, don't benefit nobody. It's destructive. You thought you were going to go press on this dude, and this dude was going to be like, oh, all right, I won't fuck with that black dude no more. I'll come and fuck with you. Nah. That dude went and told on you and everybody else, and now you're all sitting in the hole looking stupid. But not only that, the rest of the compound knows what you did. And now they're looking at you and your homeboy like, man, what kind of fucking goofy shit you on? You know what I mean? But people don't think like that. And a lot of people think that their muscle is a way for them to get things. You always hear the old saying, man, like, you can get more bees with honey than vinegar. And it's true. There's 1,001 way to press somebody. There's the hard press and the soft press. The hard press only lasts so long. And the hard press only lasts for as long as your victim fears you. But the soft press, that can go on forever. Welcome to the USP.